All right, number 15, as I call it. This is your 1 over sine minus sine. All right, so any of these that, well, actually, this is going to be one of the only ones because I'm going to cover this tangent plus cotangent as well. This problem and this problem are going to be similar. Uh, Basically, you want everything to be one term. Maybe this one too. This one, it might apply to this one too. But uh, you've got two terms, and since all of our answers just have one term, we need to end up condensing this down into one fraction or one piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this term right here and give it the same denominator. I'm going to multiply by sine over sine is what I'm going to do. So what I get is 1 over sine minus sine squared over sine. And now I'm able to go ahead and call this one denominator. So I'll get a sine as my denominator and 1 minus sine squared up top. Okay, 1 minus sine squared, that's Pythagorean identity. That's going to be cosine squared. All right. So the reason I was covering this one is because it's not super obvious what they want you to do with this. What we're going to do is we're going to take one of these cosines and kind of lay it to the left of the fraction so that I get cosine and then a cosine over sine like this. All right, so I'm just borrowing one of those cosines and putting it off to the side. And then cosine over sine, that's equal to cotangent. Right? So that ends up being our answer for this one is cosine times cotangent. All right. It had me stuck because what I was doing was I was taking the sine and just moving it up to the top as a cosecant. So I was getting cosecant times cosine squared, which, I mean, technically they are the same thing. All three of these are, but this wasn't on one of the matching options, right? So we had that one. And then 21, like I said, 21 is going to be real similar. Before I mention that one, you see problems like number 18 here, the ones where it's got cosecant squared, cosecant squared. Where's another one like this? Here we go. We got secant squared and secant squared. We've got cotangent and cotangent. On those, I want to mention you are going to be factoring out, or at least I think it would be the simplest thing to do, is to factor out a cosecant squared, right? Because the first term and the second term have a cosecant squared. I would go ahead and factor out a cosecant squared. That's going to make your life a little easier on problems like that, where you've got a repeat term on both, where you've got a repeat thing on both terms. All right. So back to this question here. We'll convert everything to sine and cosine. All right. So we get sine over cosine for the first guy, and then cosine over sine for the second one. But we need them to have the same denominator. So I'm going to multiply the one on the left by sine over sine, and the one on the right by cosine over cosine. That way they both have a sine cosine as the denominator. All right, so what this is going to be is a sine squared for that term. Sine squared plus, and then you'll have a cosine squared for that term. All right, and then because these denominators are going to be the same, it'll be all over sine cosine. All right, and then of course sine squared plus cosine squared, that's equal to 1. Okay, and then the last thing you do here is you're going to use the reciprocal trig identity. So you have 1 over sine and 1 over cosine. This is going to end up turning into cosecant for the 1 over sine, and then secant for the cosine. All right. And that will be number 21.